What up, what up, what up? How are y'all doing? Let me adjust some settings here real quick. How are y'all doing? How are y'all doing? Weekend of boxing is over. It's Sunday night here on the East Coast, about 8:30. And just a quick recap on what we saw this weekend in boxing. I didn't check out the PBC card as much as I would have liked because the matchups that I saw on the zone seemed to be more interesting to me. So that's what I went with. And I did have the Benavides fight going on in the background, but I had the fight on mute because I was watching at that time. The McCaskill fight was the McCaskill and Breakhouse fight was going on at that time. So I had that on my main screen, and I had the audio going for that fight. And in the background, I had Benavides uh, on the screen, but just no audio. My takeaway from that fight was it was going to be a routine fight for Benavides. I didn't think that fight would last as long. Actually, Ellis looked pretty good. Ellis looked pretty good in the first half of the fight, and then Benavides just took it over. You know, he started coming at him with his combinations, looking good, doing a lot of damage. But I was surprised it went that long. But when you get in the pros, you know, you can never take one fight too easy or lightly or overlook a fight. But I think the story of this fight really was how easy David Benavides seemed to make weight. I don't know if he's got a new nutritionist. I don't know if he did camp different, but he looked good and he made weight. By all reports, he made weight a couple days before he even had to. So that's a good sign from David Benavides, showing that he is taking things serious. I'm assuming he's aiming for the biggest fights that he can get. I mean, in his post-fight conference, he was mentioning Canelo Alvarez, thinking that he could beat him. Now, in a lot of people's eyes, Canelo Alvarez is the best fighter out there. And Benavides is a big 168-pounder. Now, do I think Benavides can beat Canelo? It's tough to say. It depends on how much power he carries. I think that's what it really comes down to as far as Benavides versus Canelo. If they ever get in the ring, it all comes down to how much power can he carry. We know Canelo can take a shot. I think his heaviest shots that he has taken has been from Triple G. Triple G is a lot more smaller than David Benavides. But as far as Benavides' footwork is concerned, I don't think he can do anything to really bother Canelo unless he carries that much power. That's where I'm coming from as far as that's concerned. He can't move and slip and slide and stay out of the way of Canelo's heavy punches. Benavides is a big 168-pounder, so he has a lot of area to hit to the body. We all know how Canelo loves going to the body. So it's going to come down, what can Benavides take and how much power can he dish out? But either way, it was good to see Benavides taking the fight serious, like I said, with his whole weight. So, but as far as anything else, I didn't see any of the other card because I had the zone card going on. So let's just get right into the zone card. The first fight that I saw was the Raymond Ford versus Aaron Perez. This was a surprising fight for me. For one, Ford jumped up from 4 rounders to 8 rounders. He was fighting an undefeated fighter. I believe he was 10-0, and Aaron Perez. Perez looked good to start the fight. He kind of dwindled towards the end, but nonetheless, he was landing clean shots. Raymond Ford was landing some clean shots, but Ford's problem with that fight was he was pulling out straight up. And when you do that in professional boxing, you will get hit. But Raymond Ford seemed to take those punches pretty easily. And it was a good little fight to watch. With this fight, you cannot say robbery with this fight. It ended in a draw, which is good for both fighters because they were both undefeated fighters. But the fight ended in a draw. I thought Raymond Ford could have snuck it out by a round. I thought he finished stronger. But Perez had more head-snapping shots that the judges probably saw, and Perez was coming forward. All night we kept hearing on the broadcast, the judges like fighters, for some reason in Texas, the judges like fighters coming forward, applying the pressure. And that's exactly what Perez was doing. And Perez, every time Raymond Ford would pull out straight, he would get caught. So maybe that's what the judges were saying, but I thought Raymond Ford ended the fight more strong than Perez. But it was a good performance for both young guys, or young in the game. I don't know any of their ages. I know Raymond Ford's young, but I don't know about Aaron Perez. It was a good performance by each guy. 50-50 fight, a big step up. I'm surprised that Raymond Ford and his team decided to take that fight. That shows that he's very confident as a young fighter, so that's good to see. And all around, it was a great fight. I thought maybe Raymond Ford, you could have given it to him by 1 or 2 rounds, but a draw, you can't really complain about it because you saw that both fighters were trying that, and Raymond Ford, like I said, I thought he finished stronger. The second fight that came up, and I had to go back and watch the highlights of this fight because I fell asleep for some reason. I don't know why, but I fell asleep during the Chinese kid, Karaguchi. I said Chinese kid because I don't want to butcher his name, but I think I just did. What's up, Real Talk Boxing? How we living, brother? How we living? Did you enjoy Benavidez last night? Did you enjoy it? And my man Real Talk was watching the PBC card. I stopped in and said what's up during his live stream. And here he is. Much respect to you, Real Talk Boxing. If it wasn't for that dude, I wouldn't have as many subs as I do, even though I don't have a crazy amount. But what I do have, most of them came from his channel and his subs. But yeah, I fell asleep during the second fight on the card. For some reason, I woke up right after it. But Karaguchi looks like a young, up-and-coming fighter. Eddie Hearn snatched him up. He won the fight because his opponent broke his hand on his head. It's weird. I never seen too much of that, but the referee jumped in, and I think it was after the 4th round, 5th round maybe. So they counted it as a TKO for Karaguchi. So I'm going to breeze past that fight. Obviously, you could go on and see the highlights for all of these fights. But I didn't watch that fight from start to finish, so I don't want to comment too much on it. And the next fight that I saw was actually a great fight. Surprising fight. That was Emma Williams versus Dennis Douglin. Dennis Douglin is an experienced fighter. He's been in there with champs. Charlo, I know as one. A few other decent fights he's been in, so he's experienced. And Amo Williams is a younger fighter. Amo Williams is a southpaw. Raymond Ford, Amo Williams, a couple guys out of the RGBA gym, Alexis Espino. These are the young fighters that the zone are deciding to back, and usually you see a couple of them on each of their bigger cards because they're trying to push them. Amo Williams is a 168-pounder, southpaw. He's a decent fighter. They chucked him in there with an experienced fighter. Both fighters look decent. This was an 8-round fight as well. Amo Williams looked good. Douglin, I thought, looked pretty good too, but every time he went to his corner was telling him to move his feet. But, yeah, Amo Williams hit him with some clean shots. Amo Williams has got, I call it the Floyd Mayweather, the check right hook. But with Floyd, it was the check left hook. You know, he brings a lot of power with that check right hook as a southpaw. He wobbled Douglin a couple times with it. I think because Amo Williams don't have as much experience as Douglin, he couldn't get him out of there. But like I said, Douglin's a huge 168. He made Amo Williams look tiny. But Dennis Douglin made it to the end of the fight. You know, he has too much respect from going down. Like I said, he got wobbled 3 or 4 times in that fight, and he kept fighting. And not only did he didn't when he got hurt, he didn't just clinch up. Yes, he was on the ropes, but he was on the ropes firing back. And that's a lot of thing with some of these young fighters. They think that you can just reach out and hold. And sometimes that's the best thing to do. But some referees look at that and see that you're not in good shape. So for some reason, for all you young fighters out there, if you get hurt and you're up against the ropes and you try to hold and you can't, don't just sit there and cover up. Throw 1 or 2 punches back. Make sure your head's moving. You know, try to stay out of the line of fire. Because if you try to hold, you miss your hold, and you're still up against the ropes, and you just cover up and hope all is well. If you get someone like Amo Williams who throws a lot of punches in a short period of time, a lot of referees will jump in and stop it. And that's a lesson you can take from Dennis Douglin, because he didn't just curl up in a ball. He was throwing back. And some of those times when he threw back, he actually caught Amo Williams. So that's what kept him in the fight. Dennis Douglin is very durable. Even though I think he only has 24 or 25 fights, he seems like a crafty veteran, and he's a big guy. So I think that's ultimately his whole package kept him on his feet when it came down to not getting stopped. Amo Williams ended up winning that fight, and that was a fair decision. I thought Amo Williams won that fight, even though he did slow down in the middle rounds and allowed Douglin to try to gain momentum. But once Amo Williams got a second wind, he made sure he took back control of the fight and made sure that he would get that decision in Texas. Now the co-main, before the co-main, there was a throw-in fight. I forget what they call them there. But I didn't recognize each of the fighters when that fight came on. I was more paying attention to the beginning of the Benavidez fight. So I don't really want to comment on that fight. But the co-main was the 2 lovely ladies, Brackhouse and McCaskill. This is a rematch. McCaskill won the first fight. And It was a decent fight. The first fight was better in my mind, but that McCaskill, she is a dog. She's not the most technical. She's not the most sound, but she knows how to brawl. And she knows when to pick her spots. She comes in a lot of times with her head down, throwing wide looping shots. But if you can't knock her out, she will catch you and she will hurt you. Brackhouse in the early rounds, the first or second round, Brackhouse got hurt and got wobbled. McCaskill couldn't get her out of there. And Cecilia Brackhouse fought her way back. I thought she was trying to do what Abel Sanchez was telling her to do in the corner. She just couldn't do it because of the style of McCaskill. Abel Sanchez, because what McCaskill was doing, she would come in with her head down, throw that overhand right. And what Abel Sanchez was trying to have Brackhouse do was step back and throw something up the middle, an uppercut maybe, you know. But McCaskill can jump in and close that distance so quick that you really don't have time to do that. And as McCaskill would jump in, Brackhouse got a point deducted in the middle to late rounds on holding. And there was times when she was holding, but there was also times where she wasn't holding. And when you have a fighter constantly jumping in at you with their head down, well, you can't hit them on the back of the head. And 9 times out of 10, when a fighter jumps in with their head down, they're going to kind of grab you and hold you. So Cecilia Brackhouse would hold, get her off me, break it and get her off me, and let's go again. Well, the referee was taking that as Brackhouse broke holding. And like I said, a couple of times she would just to get McCaskill off her. But when the referee started warning her, Brackhouse would hold her hands up when the tie-up would come, and then McCaskill would hit her during the break. So she was in a no-win situation. And eventually the referee took a point, and at that point, you know that Brackhouse was not going to get the decision, and McCaskill was eventually going to win the fight. Now, the interesting part about the decision on that fight is now McCaskill is lined up to go to the UK and fight Katie Taylor again. McCaskill and Taylor fought once. Taylor beat McCaskill, but that was at a lower weight class. Now that McCaskill is the undisputed with the Ring magazine, she has a chance to fight Katie Taylor again. Now, Eddie Hearn stated that they're going to maybe try to do it at a catchweight because Katie Taylor can barely hold on to 140 pounds. So Eddie Hearn was saying maybe like 142, 143. As far as the belts being on the line in that fight, I don't know if every sanctioning body will go along with that. But if I was McCaskill, I would say, no, last time I fought her at her weight class. If she wants to challenge herself, fight me at my weight class. All the belts are here. Every single one. And that would be, I think that would be a great fight. I think McCaskill has way more experience now than she did. She's learned a lot. And at that weight, she carries some pop. She can hurt people. And that would be a hell of a fight to see. I don't know any other fighters or fights that she could be aiming for, but the natural progression would be that rematch with Katie Taylor. Even in McCaskill's corner, when she was her energy was slowly dipping, her corner was saying, "Hey, you gotta pick it up. You know, there's $1 million for you if you get past this one." Meaning, we're gonna go to the UK and fight Katie Taylor and get that big payday. He was telling her, "You can change your life. All you have to do is win this fight, and you can change your life." So I think behind the scenes, that is the plan for McCaskill to go and have that big rematch with Katie Taylor. And if McCaskill keeps it at her weight, I think she has a very good chance at causing an upset. Now we know Katie Taylor has superior skill, but McCaskill is awkward. She's determined. She's a bull. She's a dog. She's everything wrapped up in one, and she has some pop for a woman at her weight class. Uh, so I think in a couple months' time you will hear that is the plan, and that will be a huge fight for the women in the sport of boxing in the UK. So keep your eyes and ears open. I think that is going to come down the pipeline shortly. The main event got me extremely pissed off. Great fight, though. Hell of a fight. What was that? I wrote this down last night as I was taking my notes, because you all know I take my notes. 2,529 punches thrown between both fighters. I believe they set a record. Obviously, not every punch is a knockout punch, but if you like action, if you like boxing, if you like that come forward style, this is just as good as the first fight, if not better. Unfortunately, we get controversy at the end of a great fight. It reminds me of the Triple G Canelo 1. You got one judge that ultimately screws up the night for the two fighters. And when is this going to stop in the sport of boxing? Well, the WBA came out today and suspended that judge with the crazy scorecards. Two judges had the fight, 115, 113. One judge had it for Estrada, the other judge had it for Chocolatito. The one that had it for Estrada, I don't agree with, because I'll explain what I thought on my scorecards. I was scoring the fight round by round. And the other judge had it 117, 111 for Estrada. Now, on social media after the fight, a lot of people, 95%, well, 100% of everything I saw on social media, thought Chocolatito won 8-4. And on my scorecard, like I said, I scored the fight round by round. Round by round. It's on this corner. Where is it? On that. If you look on your screen, the left side. I scored it round by round as the fight was going. And I had Chocolatito winning 8-4 with one question mark round that could have gone either way. So at worst, I had Chocolatito 7-5 for the winner. Now, for some reason, Estrada got the decision. If you're a real boxing fan, well, you can look at it two ways. Great, we're going to see the trilogy. Or, I don't care. Estrada don't deserve the trilogy. He's lost twice. Even though it was a great fight, someone is getting robbed for that trilogy. Now, I'm more along the B side of what I just said. Yes, I would love to see a third fight. The fight was great. It was awesome. It was the best I've seen in a while. But why does Chocolatito have to get robbed to see that third fight? Why don't Chocolatito win that fight, go fight Rungvisai, the now mandatory, let Estrada go get a win, and if he wins that next fight, then they can do the trilogy if Chocolatito gets through it. You can always circle back and have a trilogy without robbing Chocolatito. And it's so funny that one of the judges, his name is Carlos Sacre, with the 117-111 scorecards. Apparently, the WBA went to him after the fight and said, well, the other two judges had it 115-113, a close fight, even though they picked opposite fighters. Why did you have it 117-111? Well, either he didn't explain himself the proper way, or they didn't like his explanation. Because apparently Carlos Sacre has been suspended. The WBA has suspended him. Now, that's a step in the right direction as far as how can we stop seeing these weird scorecards. No matter who you thought won the fight, even if you think Estrada won the fight, you cannot have it 117-111. You just can't have it that. And respect to the WBA. More sanctioning bodies got to do this. If you have two scorecards that are similar, and you have one that's way out the window, you got to start asking questions. You got to bring him in front of a monitor, rewatch the fight, and have that judge explain to you what the hell happened. And if you don't like his explanation, suspend his ass. Send him more classes. Make him go down and do lower level fights. I mean, this was a historic fight for hardcore boxing fans. Estrada Chocolatito 2. Fans have been waiting 8-9 years for this fight. And then you have some dummy who scores it 117-111. I mean, it's ludicrous. It's absolutely ludicrous. And I wouldn't be this upset if that judge went 115-113 to Estrada. Then it would be two judges saw it the same way, even though they didn't see it how I saw it. But they don't have the luxury of hearing the announcers. They don't have the luxury of seeing replays. They don't have the luxury of seeing multiple camera angles. But wherever any of those judges were sitting, this Carlos Sucre guy, I don't give a shit where he was. Even he was blind, you couldn't give 117-111. You just can't. I'm sorry, you can't. And then every time we have a bad scorecard, you start hearing everybody come out of the woodworks. Well, how can we fix it? How can we fix this problem? Well, and one of the answers we always hear is, man, we got to have ex-fighters, be the judges. And I say no, that cannot happen. No ex-fighters can be the judges. Not unless that ex-fighter is 90 years old. Because nowadays with social media and everybody's buddy, who you gonna have be the judge? Hitman Tommy Hearns? Tommy Hearns has been around boxing. He's got friends he's got friends that are trainers. He's got friends that are fighters who are still fighting. The buddy, everybody on the same page with each other, friendship. That's why you can't have fighters being judges. There's bias there. I'm sorry, there just is. So we can't go that route. The only route that we can go is for, just like we just saw from the WBA, suspend that judge, either make him judge, send him back down to the bottom of the ranks. What do you think happens when some of these judges give bad scorecards and it affects a fighter? They get dropped down the ladder a couple rungs. So start dropping down these judges a couple rungs. Start lessening their pay, because that's what they're doing to fighters. You make a bad decision on a fighter or a fight, that fighter gets impact in many ways. He's that much further away from his goals, and not only that, it hurts him financially. And not only that, if you hurt that fighter financially, you in return hurt their family and friends. It's a snowball effect. So why don't these sanctioning bodies start doing that with their judges? You made a bad call, either you're suspended or you get dropped down to 4 rounders, and you don't make as much money as you would if you were to judge a championship fight. I don't know if that's how judges get paid, depending on the level of fight that they are. I mean, you always hear before the fight, this judge has been involved with 128 championship fights. So I'm assuming that would be the case. I mean, in all the other sports, if you're a regular season referee and you make it to the playoffs and are able to referee playoff games, you get a pay increase. So that's a step in the right direction that the WBA took. So I would say suspend them, send them to more classes, judge classes, or whatever courses that they're going to take to become a judge. And then when they come back, drop them back down to 4 rounders and less pay. Because they affect fighters. So if they do something horrendous, then their job should be affected. Their way of earning money should be affected. All in all, it was a great card, though. Like I said, I thought Chocolatito should have won 8-4. At worst, 7-5. Because I did circle one round that could have been a toss-up. Round 6 and the last round, round 12, was hellacious. It was just an awesome fight. Big respect to Chocolatito. That's another thing, too. Chocolatito's getting a little bit older. He's getting a little bit long in the tooth. And you just robbed him. You know, he ain't a young buck. He ain't going to start over and come back. So I'm hoping Estrada will hear the backlash and talk to his friends and family and people back home and give Chocolatito another fight. Unfortunately, the WBC is calling for the mandatory, which is Rungvisai. He's also a DAZN fighter. I believe Rungvisai beat him too. Could be wrong. I'll have to go back and look at that. But they have fought already. Estrada is a hell of a fighter. Even though I think he lost his fight, he's an exciting fighter. I will tune in to see him fight any day of the week because you know what you get when you see Estrada in the ring. Even though he lost, I still think he's a great fighter. Chocolatito, it's a damn shame because he won. He won comfortably in my eyes. He was stalking. He was coming forward. And, of course, once he got that straight right hand going, he was hurting Estrada, and he was hurting Estrada bad. There was a couple times in that fight that Estrada wasn't in the best of shape. But it was a great fight nonetheless. If any of you guys out there haven't seen that card, maybe you're watching the PBC card, maybe you were out doing something with friends or family. For some reason, if you haven't seen that card, you should definitely at least go back and watch the highlights. If not, try to find, if you have DAZN, go back and watch the replay. It was a great card all the way around. It stinks when you get a bad decision in the main event and it kind of puts a stain on the card, but nonetheless, it was great fights from top to bottom, and that's what we need if we're going to bring boxing back. It's exactly what we need. So I was going to go a little bit longer, but only my man, Real Talk Boxer, jumped in, and I think he jumped out real quick. If there was more of you that was on here with me, I would go a little bit longer. But that's just my quick thoughts on this weekend's boxing. Hopefully next week we get the big announcement that we're waiting on, Anthony Joshua versus Fury. And hopefully we get some announcements on some other fights. So yeah, I hope you guys have a good week coming up. And I'll talk to you soon. This is Moore's House. Peace.